Last week, the Detroit Lions welcomed the Seattle Seahawks to Ford Field. They had high hopes of getting a win in that game. However, it resulted in a humbling loss. Now as the Lions welcome the Falcons to Ford Field, they're looking to steal the Falcons' thunder and excitement back to their own side. We're going to talk about it in today's episode, folks, so stay tuned.
It started with an owner who had a last name fans despised, hiring a coach that the experts thought was crazy,
But I got a plan, I swear to you.
who traded for a QB that was said to be washed up. They said the Detroit Lions would never amount to anything, that it would always be the same old Lions. But this team, our team, has a new identity, defined and expressed by the crazy head coach,
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes, I will beat your ass.
led by the QB that nobody thought was good. Motor City Mania is in full swing and ready to start. So join the show and be prepared for kneecap biting, because Motor City Mania starts right now.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of Motor City Mania, MCM. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and we're diving in right now. So, with that having been said, folks, I just want to say thank you all for coming back to yet another episode of MCM. Thank you all for your view. Thank you all for your support. Thank you all for your patronage. I just want to continue to say God bless. Thank you all for everything you guys do. And with that having been said, let's dive into the content. The second of today's content from MCM. So, here's the thing, folks. Again, the Lions defense last week kind of got a bit of a shellacking, so to speak, if you will, against the Seattle Seahawks. A lot of people thought that the Lions defense was in a much better place, and last week kind of threw a lot of cold water on that idea. Now, here's the thing. I know that there are some Lions fans out there that are saying, listen, it was one game, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, blah, 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 blah. I fully expect that at some point, hopefully, sooner rather than later, the Lions defense will get back on the right page here and we'll actually start seeing what happened over the second half of last year. But again, my biggest problem with the Lions defense is not the talent, it's not the players, it's the scheming of Aaron Glenn. I'm not going to go back into all that nonsense. I've already made two various episodes on that. You guys can find them on my channel. I'll put the link to the most recent one back up at the top. It's actually on this side, pardon me. And with that having been said, let's actually kind of get into today's content without rehashing all the old stuff here. So here's the thing, folks. The Lions this year were coming in as one of the biggest storylines as far as a team that had a lot of excitement, it had a lot of, hype around it, and they still, to a certain degree, still have a lot of excitement and hype around them. But one team that's getting a lot of hype right now in terms of what they've been able to do over the last 2 weeks is the Atlanta Falcons. A lot of people didn't think the Atlanta Falcons were going to start the season 2-0. So right now, the Falcons are a hot storyline. The Falcons are a hot team that everybody's talking about, like, hey, maybe the Falcons might have something to work with this year. However, though, as I said in my earlier episode today, I don't think that the Falcons necessarily have played against opponents that are really all that dominating. I don't think they've played against some top opponents. And I think more than anything, the Falcons have been beneficiaries of the fact that they've been playing at home 2 straight games to start the year. That's a really good way to start the year when you have 2 straight home games right out of the gate. And the reason why I'm going to say that is because we need to kind of start off with what I consider the Achilles heel, the greatest weakness of the Falcons, and that is their quarterback, Desmond Ridder. And you guys are going to understand what I say here as I start to process this thing all the way through. Desmond Ridder had a very successful career at Cincinnati for the Bearcats, did very well, got drafted by the Falcons. He's been the backup quarterback, I think, for the Falcons the last 2 years. Well, here's the thing. If it's not 2 years, it was at least 1 year. Either way, besides the point. Here's the problem I have with the Falcons as far as people trying to say, oh, well, the Falcons might be something. Desmond Ridder is not a quality quarterback that you're necessarily going to try and build a team around. Again, if you take a look at Desmond Ridder over the last, not only started this year, but last year, Desmond Ridder does very, very well when he's at home. But when he's on the road, he just kind of disappears. In the last 6 games, the Falcons have played with him as the starting quarterback. They're 4-2. They've won all their games at home, but they've lost all their games on the road. And those 2 games that they lost on the road, they sure as hell weren't pretty. If you take a look at those 2 games that they lost, he was 35 of 59 with 305 yards, no touchdowns, no picks either, but only a 73.1 passer rating and a dismal 46.5 QBR rating according to ESPN. Desmond Ridder is just not a type of quarterback that you expect to show up on the road. And again, he's coming to Ford Field. Ford Field's going to be loud, it's going to be raucous, it's going to be full of a lot of just supercharged fans that are going to make his life very, very difficult. And here's the other thing about Desmond Ridder that I have a bit of a problem with when you start talking about how the Falcons are all this hyped upness. Desmond Ridder is not a quarterback that likes to throw the ball down the field. He is a check down Charlie. And I know a lot of people try to say the same thing about Jared Goff, but again, if you go back to last year and the start of this year, nothing could be further from the truth. And I'm going to show you what I mean here. If you go to Next Gen Stats, they have a statistical algorithm that's called completed air yards and intended air yards. I want to show you guys the difference in this algorithm for both Jared Goff and in terms of Desmond Ridder. If you take a look at Desmond Ridder's completed air yardage and intended air yardage, he is damn near the bottom of the NFL in both of those statistical categories. In terms of completed air yardage, only 4.8 yards completed a throw in terms of air yardage. That's less than 5 yards. That's horrible. If you take a look at intended air yardage, it's not much better. It's only at 6.5. This is out of 33 passers, by the way. You want to know where that's ranked at? 22 and 25. He's tied in both of those categories. That is near the bottom of the league in both of those categories. Now, where's Jared Goff? Jared Goff, in completed air yardage, he's the third highest quarterback in the NFL right now. He's tied for third at 7 yards a pop in terms of completed air yardage. You want to know where his intended air yardage is? It's 7.2. There's not much difference. Pretty much what it means is that when Jared Goff throws a pass, it's getting completed, whether it's short, medium, or deep. That's something you want to hear. When you take a look at Desmond Ridder, on the other hand, he's intending 6.5 yards. Which means when he tries to throw the ball down the field, it's not getting completed all that much, if at all. He's only able to complete the short passes, which is something that I would expect from a quarterback that does not have the necessary experience to throw those balls further down the field. So again, Desmond Ridder, in my opinion, is the weakest link. He is the Achilles heel of the Atlanta Falcons. However, though, that's not the main problem with the Falcons here. The main problem is their rushing attack, because they've got two running backs that are going to cause a whole lot of defenses headaches, and that's Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. And here's the reason why I say this. Take a look at these guys' freaking statistical output through 2 games in the NFL for this year. Bijan has rushed the ball for 29 times, has 180 yards at 6.2 an average a rush. You take a look at Algier, he has 31 rushes for 123 yards, 4 an average, and 2 rushing touchdowns. And both of them are somewhat decent options out of the backfield as well. Bijan has 10 receptions for 75 yards, 7.5 an average a catch with 1 touchdown, whereas Algier has 3 receptions for 19 yards, 6.3 an average a catch. So again, those 2 guys right there are definitely formidable weapons for the Falcons offense. But again, they're more formidable as rushing threats than they are receiving threats. So, why am I starting this whole episode off this way? Well, you have to understand how the Falcons run their offense, because again, I'm going to show you some plays here in a little bit, but I have to set up the narrative here so that way you guys can understand what I'm trying to do here. Let's take a look at this. If you take a look at the Falcons' play selection, they have ran the ball a total of 71 times between the Panthers game and the Packers game. They've only passed the ball 50 times. So 71 plus 50, that's 121 play selections. Out of those 71 divided by 121, that means that this team runs the ball 58.7% of the time. This is a heavy, and I mean it, a heavy run team. They only pass the ball 41.3% of the time. Damn. You're almost running the ball 60% of the time. Now, what does that mean? That means one of 2 things. It either means that they love to run the ball, which, I mean, when you've got Tyler Algier and you got Bijan Robinson, why the hell would you not run the ball? Or it also means, or both in my opinion, that they don't have really a whole lot of trust in their quarterback to throw the ball down the field. And I think, again, it's both. They don't trust Desmond Ridder a whole lot, but with the fact that they've got 2 really quality running backs, why would you not run the ball? So, here's the thing. When you think about it, the best way to beat the Falcons is you have to stop Bijan and Tyler Algier. Because here's the thing. Desmond Ridder's not really going to beat you through the air with his arms, and so far this year, he hasn't really done a whole lot with his legs either. So the main priority, as we already knew, is that the Falcons' main proponent of their offense is their running game, which means stopping Bijan and Tyler. Now, here's the thing. When you take a look at these 2 running backs, they do things a little bit differently. take a look at these rushing charts that I'm about to show you as far as rushing direction for how these guys like to run. Bijan, most of his rushes are either up the middle or they are to the right side of the formation. If you take a look at the middle of the offensive line, from the left guard to the right guard, 14 attempts for almost 100 yards of his rushing output comes from right up the middle. But where a lot of Bijan's production comes from is off the right side of the formation. So either mid-right all the way to the right end of the formation. 15 rush attempts for 111 yards, 7.4 in average. Pretty much what this means from the middle side all the way over to the right-hand side is that Aiden Hutchinson and Jack Campbell and all the rest of those linebackers, they are going to have their hands full, because that is where the Falcons love to do their most rushing damage. But it only gets worse when you start taking a look at Tyler Algier. Algier is almost exclusively rushing towards the right side of the formation. So again, most of the rushing attack for the freaking Falcons team is to the right side of the formation. Again, take a look at Algier. If you take a look at the middle right of the formation all the way to the right end, almost all of his rushing attempts are to the right side of the formation. He has 21 attempts for 95 yards, 4.4 in average a rush. Again, when you think about it, most of the Falcons' rushing attempts go to the right side of the formation. Now, to be fair, both of Algier's rushing touchdowns are to the left. But again, most of the production of the team is going towards the right. That's a handy piece of information now, don't you think? Now, why is that? Well, the preference for the preference of the Falcons to run to the right side of the ball is because they've got a really good rushing attack combo as far as their linemen on the right side of the ball, and that's right tackle Caleb McGarry and right guard Chris Lindstrom. Both of these dudes are especially excellent rush blockers, especially McGarry. So, limiting the damage to the right side of the field for both Bijan and Tyler is going to be of high importance for the Lions going forward. Now, a lot of y'all are wondering why in the thunder I am bringing all this up about the freaking Falcons rushing game. We already knew that the Falcons were going to be a very high rushing attacking team. Well, the reason why is because the Lions so far this year have actually done a rather excellent job in stopping the run. That's one of the areas on defense they've actually done pretty good in. If you take a look at their rushing ability, their defense's stopping ability in terms of the rushing game, they're tied for 9th in the NFL in terms of total rushing yards, and they're ranked 11th in terms of rushing average on defense. So the Lions defense actually has done a pretty good job in stopping opposing rushers. However, they haven't gone against a team that is like the Falcons, which is ranked 4th in rushing yards, it's tied 6th in rushing average, and it's ranked 3rd in rushes per games and 5th in rush attempts. Again, just to keep hammering the point here, the Falcons love to run the damn ball. They are a one-dimensional offensive unit. And again, when you think about that, take a look at the disparity for the Falcons' offense, like I've already stated. I just talked about all of their rushing statistics. Now take a look at their passing statistics. They are 28th in the NFL in passing yards, 28th in yards per game in terms of passing yards. They are 21st in sack percentage, and they are tied 30th in attempts of throws. Pretty much what this means, the Falcons do not like to throw the ball. The reason why is either their quarterback can't convert a lot of first downs, or he gets sacked or pressured, so they try to run the ball as much as possible. However, though, like I said, I expect that the Lions defense will be able to rise to the challenge and at least limit, not stop, limit the rushing component of the Falcons. The best way that the Lions will be able to win this game is their offense has to score a lot of points fast to where the Falcons have to abandon the run and go to the passing game to try and make up the difference in points. Which is now why we're going to get to the film study here, because there are some areas where I think the Falcons are really in pickle if the Lions are able to pull off that game plan strategy. Here's the reason why. Let's take a look at this first play here. Desmond Ridder is going to bring Bijan Robinson in motion from the wide receiver to the right tackle. So he's going to be coming from the right side of the formation further into the line of scrimmage. He then motions him again and then snaps the ball while on the run. What happens here is Desmond Ridder is pressured and he is hit as he throws the ball. So what happens? The ball then hangs in the air and the Packers intercept the ball. This is all gameplay from last week with the Packers and the Falcons, as I explained in my previous episode here. But I want to show you guys a small little snippet from the backside in the backfield camera here. Take a look at this. There's another reason why I think the Falcons don't like trying to pass the ball. Their offensive line is not very well situated for pass blocking. Take a look what happens on this play. The guy that hit freaking Desmond Ridder was being blocked by the left guard. The left guard in this play gets manhandled by the freaking Packers defensive lineman. Pretty much what this tells me, the Falcons offensive line is weak for pass blocking, and on top of that, Desmond Ridder does not like throwing the ball down the field. That's a perfect recipe for opportunities for takeaways, to steal momentum, to steal opportunities from the Falcons offense. Because here's the thing, as much as one-dimensional as the Falcons offense wants to be, they're going to have to put the ball in the air at some point. So, that's play number 1. Let's get to play number 2. Again, I want to show you this play from the backside camera. So we're going to be seeing the Packers defense versus the Falcons offense here. Now, I want to show you guys what happens on this play, because the reason why I'm showing you it is a direct contrast to freaking how Aaron Glenn runs his defense. What you're going to see is the Packers are going to bring a delayed blitz and drop a linebacker that's on the line of scrimmage into coverage. This is a kind of a stunt. It's a type of scheme to where it's going to confuse the Falcons offensive line, because they're going to see a guy directly in front of them drop in coverage, and a guy that was up in the secondary come in and blitz them. It's going to throw them in a little bit of confusion. Well, here's the thing. The guy that drops in coverage is number 7, Quay Walker. At the same time that Walker drops, number 91, Preston Smith, he blitzes. There's also a corner that's coming in from the blind side of the formation for Desmond Ridder. What happens is the left tackle, he decides to take care of the cornerback, and then what happens is there is a huge hole that's made in the middle to where the left guard does not see that delayed blitz coming in. And what happens? The guy gets towards Desmond Ridder. Now, on this particular play, Desmond Ridder does complete the pass, but that's not necessarily because of the fact that, the defense didn't do anything to try and stop the offense. It was just a hell of a throw and catch by Ridder in the Falcons offense. But again, seeing this kind of understanding of schematics, seeing this understanding of having stunts, delayed blitzes, whatever else, it shows how effective it can be against the Falcons offensive line, because they're not able to pick up these different types of looks. So if I am Aaron Glenn, forgo your pride and start running stunts. Start running different schematical looks to get your guys' pressure onto Desmond Ridder. Because again, I'm going to tell you this right now. I've taken a look at the stats. The Carolina Panthers got 4 sacks against Desmond Ridder, and last week the Packers also got 1 as well. They've already got 5 sacks in 2 games on their quarterback. And again, as I already demonstrated, their pressure rate is almost at 10%. That's one of the worst ones in the league as far as their quarterback. This is a prime game for Aiden Hutchinson and all of our edge rushers to start making Desmond Ridder's life absolute living hell. So please, Aaron Glenn, I implore you, bring the mother flipping heat. Just do it. And that was play number 2. Sorry, I got a little passionate there. So, this is play number 3. On this play, what we're going to see is a backside backfield view of what's going on. So again, what you're going to see here is that Bijan is brought in motion, and he's brought behind Desmond Ridder as kind of like a misdirection for the defense. So, what happens? The ball is snapped. The Packers have 4 down linemen in this defensive setting, though. So pay very close attention. I want you to pay close attention to number 90 of the Packers defense here. This is rookie lineman Lucas Van Ness. What he does is he makes a huge rip move inside of the right tackle. Well, what then happens is that Quay Walker goes outside on a round blitz. Again, a type of stunt, something like I just showed in the very last play here. This is called a crisscross stunt. You've got one guy going inside, you got one guy going outside. It confuses the ever-living thunder out of a freaking lineman, because they're like, okay, who do I have now? Well, what then happens is, because of the fact that Van Ness has gone inside, that guy, this would be the right guard, does not get any sort of help from the right tackle, because he now has to break off and try and get Quay Walker that's coming around the outside. The right guard can't handle Van Ness. So now all of a sudden, Van Ness is disrupting the play in the backfield. He wraps up the running back, which is Tyler Algier, and the rest of the defense swarms to finish the play up. Again, this is what I'm talking about as far as run defense. If you get these stunts, if you get these schemes going forward, the freaking Falcons offensive line is not experienced enough to handle this kind of thing. This is why rush defense is extremely essential. Hutch needs to be not only in top mode, but again, like I just said in the previous play, please, Aaron Glenn, forgo your pride and call some damn stunts. We've seen already in 2 plays, it's very effective against this Falcons inexperienced offensive line. This is prime territory for you to make up a lot of the negative naysayers from the previous week if you just forego some pride here. This is also something else I want to note. We need Isaiah Buggs and Broderick Martin to play. This is a game where we need freaking run stuffers, not necessarily pass rushers in the middle. Bring Buggs, bring Martin. These guys are known as run stuffers. You're going to need them against Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson. Bring them out to play. Again, getting passionate here. Now we get to play number 4. In this play, we're going to see the Falcons are in a 4 wide receiver set with 1 running back. This is a quick hitting play. This is what I'm talking about. I'm telling you this. This Falcons offense has weakness, and the weakness is freaking Desmond Ridder. I'm going to show you 2 plays, this play and the next play, which is going to show opportunities that the Lions can have to get turnovers from Desmond Ridder. Here's what I mean. This is a quick hitting play, like I just said, 4 wide receivers, 1 running back. The play is a very quick hitting play. But notice what Desmond Ridder does. He makes 3 critical errors on this play alone. It results in near disaster. The first error he makes on this play is he nearly telegraphs the throw to his wide receiver. Why is this an error? Because the play, as I said, nearly results in disaster because this is almost intercepted by Jair Alexander, one of the best corners in the game. Somehow Alexander drops this pass. I don't know how in the thunder he does it, but he drops this on a telegraph throw. And again, I'm going to try and show you why I say this is a telegraph throw. Again, I want you guys to see the still frame here. Alexander is already looking towards the quarterback because the quarterback is looking towards the freaking wide receiver. He knows this throw is coming towards him. He telegraphs it. This is a no-no for quarterbacks. You do not telegraph throws. Your eyes will give you away. That's error number 1. Error number 2 is that you have the fact that he throws it to the wrong wide receiver who's open. Again, if you take a look in this still frame as well, take a look at Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is set to break on an in route and is going to be open over the middle. All freaking that, Desmond Ridder has to do is just wait one more flipping second and then Kyle Pitts is going to be open over the middle. But instead, he rushes the throw, he rushes the read, he telegraphs the read to his wide receiver on the outside and throws it towards that. That's just error number 2 right there. And error number 3, why in the hell would you throw it in Jair Alexander's direction? Again, Jair Alexander is one of the best corners in the game. I'm gonna state that even though I'm a Lions fan. Alexander is that damn good. Why would you throw it in his direction? Throw it anywhere else. You got other options. You don't have to force a throw to Jair Alexander's direction. Why would you do that? So for me, it's like, okay, those are 3 critical errors. And again, I want to show you this. Had Jair actually got this pass and intercepted it, I want you to see how much green space Alexander would have had he caught this. The only person he would have had to have beat would have been the running back, which he fully could have done. This could have been a pick 6, which again, considering the fact that the Falcons only won by 1 mother flipping point, that would have instantaneously flipped the game in the freaking Packers' favor. That was a missed opportunity right there. But it's an opportunity that I think the Lions can definitely get their hands on and definitely take advantage of. And again, that's not the only one. Again, consider this, folks. The Falcons had 1 interception in that game, actually. But this play that I just talked about and this upcoming play that I'm about to talk about, they nearly had 3. Because now here's the last play I want to show you. Again, you're going to see that Desmond Ridder is in the gun. It's an empty formation. Ridder brings Bijan in motion, and then the ball is snapped. Well, then take a look what happens here. Desmond Ridder steps up into the pocket, and one of the few times in that game, Ridder decides he's going to push the ball down the field. But he makes a horrible choice on trying to throw this ball down the field. He tries to gun this pass into triple coverage to Kyle Pitts, his big tight end. The ball is nearly picked off by linebacker Quay Walker, but he drops it, just like Jair Alexander dropped the last one. So you're taking a look at the fact here that Desmond Ridder doesn't throw the ball a lot, but in that game alone, he almost had 3 interceptions, 2 of which were dropped. But I want you to see this here. Take a look at this. Again, watch the backside of this play from the backfield view. Again, Ridder telegraphs this throw. His head does not leave the middle of the field. He is telling the defense, this is where I'm going to throw it. All Quay Walker had to do was hold on to the thing, and you have yourself an interception. Again, yet another opportunity to flip momentum towards your ability to win this game. Again, 1 point difference here is all that made the difference for the Falcons to win. And I want to also bring this up as well. If you take a look at this play, this was at the start of the second half when the Falcons got the ball. The Falcons decided to throw the ball 4 straight times to open up the half, something they did not do a whole lot because, again, the Falcons are predominantly a run offense. But think about this. Those 4 straight passing plays all resulted in completions, and the last one almost resulted in an interception. So for me, it's like, okay here. Actually, no, one was a completion. The other 3 were interceptions because if you have 4 plays, one had to at least been completed. But the whole point of the matter is you have 4 straight passing plays. The Falcons don't do that very often. And the fact that, again, you have Desmond Ridder almost throwing 3 interceptions off of bad telegraphed throws and one where he got hit because the offensive line couldn't hold up. Dude, I'm telling you this right now. The Lions defense has a lot of potential here to make up for the game that they had against the Seahawks last week. What they have to do is freaking Aaron Glenn has got to get over his stubborn pride, bring the stunts, bring the heat, pressure freaking Desmond Ridder to the end of his days. Do not let him get comfortable. Bring 5 guys. Bring 6 guys. Just don't bring 4 all the damn time. And then the other thing you have to do, please let Broderick Martin and Isaiah Buggs play. Let them play in the middle. Let them be the run stuffers that they need to be against Bijan Robinson. We need to have run stuffers on that line so that way we can stop him. This is a game where the defense has got to be schematically set against this Falcons offense. And if it's not, again, that is on the coaches because they didn't bring the right players to the game. So again, Aaron Glenn has got to decide how he wants to be on this Lions team. Does he want to continue to be the scapegoat? Or does he want to actually have a chance to redeem himself and win a game at home against the freaking Atlanta Falcons so that way we can be 2-1 rather than 1-2 because the defense didn't decide to bring itself to the game. But anyway, I think I've done a pretty good job of explaining my point here and presenting the evidence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM, Motor City Mania. If you liked what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode that's coming up at the end of this one. I also encourage y'all, please, to do one of these 3 things if you like the content. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you've subscribed in the past and you forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and you forgot to, and you haven't gotten a chance to do so, please, I highly encourage y'all, make sure you hit that bell notification icon that's at the bottom of the page so that way you never miss any more content that I push out. Again, let's keep this channel growing. Let's keep it moving in the right direction. And with that being said, folks, I also highly encourage y'all to please share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and anywhere that you can with anybody and everybody that you can. And with that, folks, I just want to say again, thank you all for watching the content. Thank you all for your view, your subscription, your patronage. God bless. And with that being said, folks, I just want to say this is it for now. I will see you all in the next episode. God bless. And until next time, I'm out.